Hey everyone, I hope you've had a great day so far and that you're doing well. For this video, we'll be going through an unboxing and review of the Covert Agent Ravage and Decepticons Forever Ravage set. And this particular set was a bit of a limited edition set that came out under the War for Cybertron Trilogy banner as well back in 2021. So with my Season 1 Maximals and Season 1 Predacons now done and dusted, I thought I would just bring the Beast Wars stuff to an end with this particular set, which granted is a bit more of a Season 2 type set, and there'll be one more Beast Wars themed set to look at in the upcoming week before I mix up things a little bit. Might do some of the recent Legacy stuff before heading back into the Transformers Bumblebee arena. Also, depending if they're available, there might also be the new Rise of the Beasts figures as well. So a lot of content, not enough time. But anyway, here we have Covert Agent Ravage. And I'm just going to call the other one Ravage because it is Ravage. So it's a twin set, which is very cool. So in the set, and this is still sporting the good old plastic window back in the day, but it is a different stylized box compared to the rest of the usual War for Cybertron releases. But we have, so this is Covert Agent Ravage, who I believe was a heavy retool of the Deluxe class Cheetah toy, and he will have some accessories, whilst this is pretty much the original Ravage toy back from Generation 1, just effectively reissued for a current time. He'll also have his 2 missile launchers included, so it's a very interesting set. I will also admit I do like how the set also has this background as well, which we'll definitely have a better look at once everything's been taken out. So that is the front, which is very nice. In terms of the back, so it's just a bit of a nice little stock image graphic of Ravage in his Predacon state, transforming into his original tape, and this is almost, well, it's pretty much beat for beat from, was it the Agenda episode of Season 2? Basically near the tail end of Season 2, when Ravage came back in time to dispose of Megatron, but different things happened. That is a very cool image. So, with the outside of the box now looked at, I will open up the box and then we can have a better look at the 2 Ravages. And yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to do this because robot mode and alt mode. I might just do one at a time for sake of ease. Anyway, time to open up the box and have a better look inside. And with the Ravage now out of its packaging, so we'll have the one manual, which I believe will cover both Ravages, which is fine. We have Covert Agent Ravage in his robot mode, and he is definitely a significant retool of Cheetah, so that will be definitely interesting to see how he goes. He'll have his own 2 accessories, which I do think is a little bit funny because Cheetah didn't actually come equipped with a ranged weapon. And we also have the original Ravage as well in his cassette mode, and his 2 missile launchers for when he's in his Jaguar mode. So that's very cool. Now before I get too carried away, that is the actual backdrop that is included. So if I was to do that with Ravage, So basically that was the intent of the scene, was Ravage transforming back into his cassette mode to control the ship that way, which I think is very cool. I'll definitely try and actually keep this scene together because I think it is a very nice background for Ravage. That's very cool. So there is that. Okay. Tape Ravage, we'll just put you over there. Agent Ravage, we'll put you over there. So, manual. Bit of colour in this one, which is actually very cool compared to the other ones. So we do have a quick diagram of how to equip 2 side weapons onto Ravage. Otherwise, despite being a retool, its transformation is still relatively the same as Cheetor. Relatively. But there are definitely some noticeable changes. In fact, some of the changes might even be for the better. Be interesting to see how the arms go, actually tucking nicely into his Jaguar mode or not. But there does seem to be a bit more tabbing in place that wasn't evident on the original Cheetor. Now, in saying that, I would say his legs are still pretty much the exact same. So, there's about 21 steps of transformation there. So his hind legs are definitely the same. But interestingly enough, his tail is actually pretty much inbuilt. So for the Cheetor figure, the tail was also his weapon, but in this case the tail stays permanently attached. And we do have a nice interesting little throwback where Ravage's weapons can also attach to the side of his hind legs, a la his original G1 transformation. And there's Ravage in his beast mode, but there's the transformation of Ravage in his cassette to Jaguar, and there's that nice little callback with the side weapons. So very cool. So I'm definitely intrigued to see how the transformation goes. So there is the manual. Now, Covert Agent Ravage, I'll come back to you. Okay, so tape Ravage, we do have 2 of these very large chrome looking side missiles for his Jaguar mode. In terms of his cassette, so very nice little cassette mode. It actually is a little bit solid. I'm quite surprised. In all my years, I think this will be the very first time I actually own a G1 Ravage. I do have Soundwave, Buzzsaw, I think I had Laserbeak, but yes, first G1 Ravage. So that's one side of Ravage. There's the other side, and it does have a nice little detailed Decepticon logo there as well. Now, in terms of the transformation, I believe it's going to be very simple. And surprisingly enough, I actually am going to do it live. Tail, head, this is back in the day when the head didn't have too much motion. Pull out the hind legs, pull out the forelegs, flip out the feet, do the same on the back. I don't know how well it actually does separating the 2 legs, but I'm going to assume, I think there's a little bit of a degree of how to separate them, kind of, maybe. Either or other. He's definitely very flat, to say the least. But that's pretty much Ravage in his Jaguar mode. And I guess before I put his accessories on, that's one side of Ravage. There's the other side of Ravage. Ravage from the top down, and yes, as I said, he's quite thin. From the bottom, from the front, not that you can tell. But yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, the colours are still very nice. I mean, I think the colours are exactly the same as his original G1 release, so it's still predominantly black with some of the bits of silver metallic throughout as well to give a touch of colour. Now, as for his accessories, pretty much just attached to his side tape, and there we go, Ravage. And you stand on your own 2 feet, well, 4 feet. Yes, you will definitely stand. That is very cool. So that's a shot of Ravage with his accessories in. Now, being G1, it's obviously G1, so at the time this was absolutely fantastic. As of now, it's definitely dated. The transformation was fairly intuitive and easy, which is very cool. And even as basic as the design is, you know, it is still very cool. I mean, I get very nostalgic looking at it, so I am definitely very impressed by the fact that we actually get a reissue of Ravage to go with the set. So very, very cool. I'm also very glad that he actually can stand on his own legs as well, so that is cool. There isn't going to be a lot of articulation. I mean, he's actually quite flat. And even just trying to make him look a little less flat, I mean, it's not difficult, but it definitely can be done. So his main articulation is just mainly artifacts of his transformation. But that is cool. Anyway, Ravage, we will put you to the side, and I may or may not do some final thoughts at the end. Now, Covert Agent Ravage. Before we get too carried away, so you have 2 weapon accessories, which pretty much two-tone, black and silver, which is very cool. In terms of equipping them, they easily go into your hands like so. I definitely do remember the scene where Ravage decloaks himself and makes himself known, so that is very, very cool. Now apparently these can also attach to his thighs when he's not using them. So take those out, just do that. So there will be some tab ports on his upper thighs. Oops. And there we go. Basically, I'm just trying to do a bit of a pseudo pose almost, trying to grab them as well. So there you go. It's actually very cool that you can also attach them onto the side as well as a little bit of weapon storage. That actually functionally works as well. So, Covert Agent Ravage. I guess because we'll be moving odds and ends around, take the weapons off. The weapons we'll have a look again at when I do his transformation, since they'll be attached to his side. Okay, Covert Agent Ravage. From the front, the side, the back, and this is definitely a very noticeable difference from Kingdom Cheetor. The other side, top down, bottom up. Before I get too carried away, given that I know Deluxe Cheetor stood with no issues, I had no doubt that Ravage would stand with no issues as well. Now I will admit he does have some nice detailing, so I guess if we have a quick look here, there is his head, which is both his, well, his head for both modes really. And he does have a bit of that opening and closing mouth gimmick, which is very cool. He has a red Predacon symbol on his upper shoulder, which is very cool as well. In terms of colors, so he's similar to his Generation 1 tape, predominantly black and I dare say silver, but we do have some additional colors of a little bit of red and a little bit of this copper, maybe? I was thinking between copper and bronze. Just some of those to give him a little bit more color, but I would say between the black and the silver it does look very cool, but it is nice to have some of this extra color just splattered in small places to break things up. So colors, very nice. That is definitely cool. So now that we've had a quick look at Ravage from a few different angles, had a look at some of his close-ups and his colors, let's see what type of articulation he has now that he's a retool. So his head can definitely move side to side, can't move up and down too much, but definitely cannot do a 360. So unlike Cheetor, his head has probably had a reduction in movement, but at the same time that is still some very good side to side. And he does have that mouth as well, so that's the mouth fully closed, and that is the mouth fully open, and it is surprisingly detailed in that mouth as well. So that is his head. In terms of his arms, now this is definitely a nice change from, ooh, I was going to say he can do a 360, but no, he cannot. So his arm will go, oh no, I take that back, it can do a 360, it's just a little bit stiff in the joint. So unlike Cheetor and Cybertron, Covert Agent Ravage can do a full 360 around the arm. His arm will go all the way up that way, which is very cool. In fact, it can go all the way up as well. Still do the full 360. In terms of a shoulder, well, not shoulder, elbow, he's got a very solid elbow there, and in fact he's actually got a two joint elbow, so his lower arm can go back like that, although it does look a little bit weird. Now it looks like his arm also has rotation up here as well in the upper arm as well. It is a bit stiff, so be careful with that. What else? Looked at his elbows. His hands will do a full 360 at the wrist joint as well, which is very cool. Although no doubt that some of that's partly linked to his transformation to tuck his arms away. So overall, Ravage has been a huge improvement in the arm mobility compared to Cheetor. Now, will your upper body have any... Okay, so your upper body will be able to do a... Can't do a full 360, but you can definitely move completely from one side to the other. Very nice. So that's a good amount of motion, well, articulation there. Now, unlike Cheetor, your kibbling is not as good. So your front legs, unlike Cheetor's, they don't actually tuck away nicely. So you do have these jaguar legs just unfortunately jutting out from the back, which is unfortunate. They don't look too bad, but they are a little bit tracting, and the tail as well can definitely go all the way up, which is good. So once it's standing, the tail is not as noticeable, but would have been nice to have the tail actually do a complete flip over into this cavity, because when you look at him side on, you just have this little tail and legs just sticking out from the back of his body. So that was a quick look at some of the Kibling that he is sporting. Now, as for his legs, so he should be able to do the 4th splits. Yes, he can, which is very good. His leg will go all the way to the front like that. It'll go as far to the back that way, although if I took it out and go a bit more, but that unfortunately is testing different motion. But yeah, well, we've already seen that through the split. There will be 360 up here just above the knee, and then the knee itself will only do that much in terms of a bend, so not quite 90. Can do a bit of a forward motion as well, but you will have to push away his hind legs to make that happen, so it does become a little bit on the unsightly side, but still some very nice articulation there. And lastly, his foot can pretty much go all the way forward, definitely all the way back, but that's now trying to transform it. And he will also have, well, hopefully he should still have some side to side. Yes, he does. More so into the interior, not so much the exterior, which is good because if you put him on his ankles or do a bit of a wider stance, you can make use of that interior at the ankle and just repose the feet accordingly. But that is very, very cool. Okay. Now, Ravage. Now that we've had a look at your robot mode, I'm going to transform you. Not live, unfortunately. And then we can have a better look at your quote-unquote beast mode. And then I can do my final review on both you and G1 Ravage. So, whilst time will be very quick for everyone watching, be interesting to see how long this takes for me to do the transformation. And with Ravager now in his beast mode, so I've gone as far as attaching his accessories to his upper thighs, or his robot upper thighs, but his back legs in his beast mode, and to be honest, they don't look that bad. I still don't think I would do it, but given that this is Ravage and he did it for all of Generation 1, it's not so bad. It's a nice little callback, which is very cool. So that is definitely what Ravage looks like with his accessories attached to his legs in his beast mode. Okay, so that's the accessories. So we'll take those off and look straight at your beast mode. So from the front, the side, the rear, the other side, top down, bottom up, and yes, you can definitely stand on all 4 paws. Now in terms of the color, so a lot more of the black will now come through compared to the robot mode, but you do still have some of these other colors coming through in the way of the silver and that copper as well. So very noticeable more on the back legs, especially with those upper legs with the silver there. You do notice it on his feet, which is unfortunate because I do remember when I did the review for Cheetor, because he was the golden yellow but had the blue detailing on the back legs, which was okay. I know why it was there, but in the beast mode it did look a little bit weird, but given Ravage has just gone the all black route, it actually doesn't look that bad, but it is unfortunate that his feet are somewhat prominent. Now in terms of articulation, so the head can definitely move, probably has about the same degrees of motion as he did in his robot mode, maybe even a little bit more, so definitely not too bad. So you can look down, You can resume its standard forward look. It can also go side to side as well. The jaw is the same, so I won't mention too much about that. His legs can do a full 360. There will be this elbow joint here, so it can go to the back, go to the front, and the paws will be on a ball socket, so they do have a good degree of articulation there as well. As for the back legs, because they're also his robot legs, so whatever motion he could do in robot mode, it still has the same flexibility in his beast mode. Whether he would do it or not is another thing entirely. But the feet are still on a ball socket, well, the paws I should say. The back leg still has this little knee component, I dare say. Just bearing in mind that the more forward this goes, it will push out his feet as part of his transformation. The back legs, because they're also his legs, his robot knee bend will allow that leg to also go all the way out, and he can also move those legs at the hip joint as well. So definitely a bit of articulation available in his beast mode, and his tail, because of how it's been done, can just move up and down, which I think is still pretty cool. So yeah, overall, Ravage actually, I feel he's enhanced certain elements of the mold to be better, especially within the beast mode. Now, what was I going to say? Transformation. In terms of the lower body, exactly the same, with the exception of the tail, but that's all exactly the same. The upper body was definitely different, so the head obviously is universal between the two, but basically his chest will open up, and his robot arms will fold away into the torso. In fact, these are actually the back of his arms that actually form up the back of that hole in his... When I say hole, it's noticeable in his robot mode because this is where the legs kind of just nest into. But in beast mode, that's the back of his arms? Lower arms is probably a better way of saying it. But I do like how some of this also tabs in. So here there's when the chest bit closes back up, it can also tab into the side of these arms as well to actually keep them nice and secure. So I think that is actually quite cool. So definitely overall, I think Ravage has definitely done some interesting improvements to the actual mold. Yeah. Is there anything else I need to say? Not really. I think overall it's actually been a nice little tweak to the mold. So I'll bring both Ravages. And for sake of discussion, I'll bring back his manual because it does have his robot mode. So starting with G1 Ravage, it's Generation 1. It's a reissue of a figure that was released in what? The 1980s. Yes, age has not been too kind to it, but back in the day it was really good. So I'm not going to fault it or criticize it too much because it did exactly what it needed to do, and to be honest, for what it is, because it was trying to do a bit of a nice looking cassette mode, the transformation works well for it. Yes, it's a bit thin when he's in his real Jaguar mode, but that's okay. Obviously wasn't going to flap out too much. Very nice that he has the missile accessories as well, just to give him a little bit more of width that he doesn't normally have when it's just Ravage without them equipped, because you obviously convert back into his cassette mode. But yeah, definitely not too bad. It's definitely a classic. think classic is probably a good way of putting it. The articulation is definitely not fantastic, which is okay, it's to be expected. But yeah, I mean, it's a classic. So I definitely won't criticize it too heavily because it definitely hasn't been changed much. At least this particular instance of Ravage hasn't been changed much since the 1980s. So for me, I think the novelty is basically because it is a callback to the Generation 1 line, and it's more of a nostalgic feel to actually have one. As for Covert Agent Ravage, so the robot mode I thought was a huge improvement over the base mode that we experienced with Cheetor. More articulation in the arms that we didn't have before, which is always good. The articulation in the head actually wasn't too bad, and I do like how he does have some actual ranged weapons that he can hold and attach to his upper thighs. So robot mode I thought was actually quite good. Definitely improved on some aesthetics that were weaker for Cheetor. Colors are looking pretty good as well, and I do like how he does have the Predacon logo on his shoulder as well as a nice little piece of detail. So robot mode, quite solid. Would have been nice if he had a bit more of a 360 in his head, but that's not too bad. But he definitely does have a lot of articulation to support some dynamic posing, so I'm actually looking forward to see how well Ravage poses. As for his beast mode, for the most part it's still the same as the Cheetor mold, so it does look very cool and very nice. It does look a bit bigger because of the retooling that they had to do, and I don't know, every time I look at that I keep thinking I'm looking at AV Unit 3. And now that I've mentioned it, it can no longer be unseen. So the beast mode is very solid, but I think the transformation actually should get a decent call out because of the retooling done for the main upper torso to support the dual use of the head in both beast mode and robot mode, and the way that the upper body torso has all been done. It actually feels neater than the original mold. It does add some weird bulk, which to be honest I think is actually a good thing because Cheetor did feel a bit slim in some regards. Now Ravage can also do some decent spinning around in his alt mode, but whether he should or not is probably subject to debate. So I would definitely say overall his beast mode is definitely a nice enhancement compared to Cheetor, and the transformation retooling is definitely very cool. So I am actually quite impressed. Now what I will do is, just to close off the video, two Ravages together. Ravage eye? I don't know. When in doubt, just add 2 eyes. So overall, I'm actually quite happy with this twin set. So I now have a G1 Ravage to my collection, and the retooled Cheetor mold for Ravage has actually been really, really good. I'm actually glad I picked this one up. I don't know if we'll get any more Beast Wars stuff. I hope we do. I think there's Silverbolt been announced for an upcoming Evolution wave, which I think will be cool. So it'll be nice if we get a bit more of the Season 2 and even Season 3 range. But as for this Ravage twin set, now it's probably going to be harder to find, but I actually would recommend it. It's nice to actually have a representation of Covert Agent Ravage from the show, given that I do believe there have been previous iterations, which I think have also been remolds and redecos of Cheetor. But I'm very happy with this one. It's very true to his on-screen representation. that we saw at the end of Season 2. Plus we have that nice little backdrop as well, which works as well. So I am very happy. All we need now is a Transmetal Megatron, amongst other things. Yeah, definitely a fun twin set. Definitely glad I have it in the collection. Definitely glad I finally opened it just to see what it was all about. So that brings us to an end of the unboxing and review of the Covert Agent Ravage and Decepticons Forever Ravage twin set. I'm just going to start calling it Ravage, leave it at that, too many words. Definitely a very fun set. I'm quite happy with it, and I'll definitely do some additional photography and some additional shorts that will go live in tandem with this unboxing and review. Thank you very much for watching this unboxing and review video. Feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. All of this does help support the channel, and I do greatly appreciate it. Extra content can also be found on my Instagram account. Link to that will be below, and as I mentioned, there will be some shorts and some other supplementary posts as well for Ravage. With that being said, stay safe and take care, and I will catch you all in a future video. Next week's video from this going live will still be a Beast Wars one, unless for some reason I really do change my mind. Just so I can actually put the Beast Wars stuff to a bit of a formal end. But I do want to try and continue doing some shorts. Not to the extremes that I've done doing 7 figures at a time, because it is a bit of a time sink. But I wouldn't mind doing some smaller shorts with just 2 or 3 figures. Maybe some, not necessarily iconic recreations, but iconic duels and things like that, maybe. We'll see how things go. I will catch everyone later on.